The bull with the wounded leg. That's how I would describe Chiron when it moves into Taurus. In order to achieve stability, you have to heal a lot of things about yourself if you are a bull with a wounded leg. Chiron will be moving into Taurus on June 19th and dancing around in there until mid-September when it moves back into Aries. You know what I really love about some transits? They give you little previews of what is to come, but let you go back to what you know before heading full throttle into the sign. So it's kind of like wading in the water and getting used to the temperature as opposed to just jumping right in. So right now, we're getting a preview of what the energy will be like until 2034. Now, let me tell you a little backstory about Chiron. You see, Chiron was a centaur, and he was unlike any other centaur in existence. He had a deep connection with the divine because, as it turns out, he had a different father than the other centaurs. His father was Cronus, who was a titan. Now remember that part because it becomes super important later on in our story. Okay, so Cronus has been told that one of his children will overthrow him one day. And guess what Cronus does? That's right. He begins devouring and eating all of his children because no children means no one can overthrow him. But this is where the story gets crazy. So naturally, one of the mothers of his children took their baby and hid him on an island so that he couldn't be eaten. Well, Kronos finds out about this and begins to search all over for his missing child. And you are never going to believe what happens next. Kronos is looking for his baby to devour, and while searching, he comes across a gorgeous woman. So he turns into a horse, mounts her, and well, as they say, the rest is history. She becomes pregnant, and ba-da-dum, Chiron is born. You would think this would be the happiest day of her life. No. First off, Chiron caused her a great deal of pain to deliver, and it's no wonder why, because it turns out he was a centaur, half human, half horse. Talk about ouch. Well, Chiron's mother is absolutely appalled at his sight. So she leaves little Chiron. She abandons little Chiron. Now I know it sounds awful, but this is the cool stuff you need to know about Chiron. He is a medicine man. He comes to heal. And while it seems like a devastating blow to be abandoned by your mother, Chiron was also adopted by Apollo. Apollo taught him all about healing and the arts and prophecy. And here's where it gets even better. Apollo had a twin named Artemis. Shut up. The same Artemis that our recent space crew was named after. Anyways, Artemis taught Chiron all about archery and hunting. So there's two different ways that you can look at Chiron. Chiron was abandoned and rejected for what he looked like by his mother. Or Chiron was denied being raised by a mother who didn't want him in the physical world so that he could train with the divine gods who had a spiritual connection. This is why Chiron is a strong spirit. He has trained with the gods since he was born. He's an expert at hunting for your deepest wounds and discovering the antidote needed to heal this wound. He was taught by the best of the best when it came to hunting and medicine. There's just one teeny tiny thing though. You see, Chiron was at this party one night and Hercules was there. Well, long story short, a dispute happened, and the centaurs and Hercules are going at it about some wine. Well, Hercules starts shooting off some arrows into the centaurs, and the centaurs get scared, and they're running around, and it's pure chaos, and guess who they run to? Chiron. And so they're all surrounding Chiron. Well, Hercules dips his arrow into some poison. He aims his arrow at the centaurs. But when he shoots it, he accidentally hits Chiron. And he did not mean to do that. And would you know, Chiron was half mortal, half immortal. So although the arrow was poisonous and caused him excruciating pain, he could not die. He was immortal. So as you can see, Chiron was wounded emotionally as a child and physically as an adult. And even though he had these wounds, he remained a teacher and a healer to others. When I think of Chiron wound, I kind of think of a healing cycle that just keeps going and going. Just like Chiron had to keep going no matter what. So for example, say Brad was a counselor helping Keith, but then Keith surprised Brad by a response that he had to something, and it actually in turn inspired Brad. You're forever the teacher and the student with this wound, helping others through their pain while still battling yours. Chiron has been in Aries, where deep wounds about codependency came up. We had an opportunity to find where in our life we couldn't be fully independent. Our relationship with impulsivity was highlighted. It was a time where lessons about finding your identity came to the forefront. Now, as Chiron moves into Taurus for the collective, we are going to shift gears. Our wound regarding our senses is going to surface. And I mean our physical senses like touch, taste, feel, see, hear, and our other senses like our psychic sense or our sense of intuition or our sense of time. And with Chiron being in Taurus, we are going to become more knowledgeable in natural remedies for our wounds. Nature is medicine. Food is medicine. Words are medicine. Touch is medicine. Sleep is medicine. Slowing down is medicine. Silence is medicine. There are solutions to our problems, but we have to face some deep wounds and surrender or put in the hard work. And that's not just so easy to do. When Chiron shifts into Taurus energy, a lot of different wounds may come into focus. Each wound I bring up will need to be healed on the collective level as well as the individual level. And you may not resonate with every single wound I mentioned. That's okay. This is a general overview of one very specific topic. Some of you may resonate with just one or two wounds, and that's totally fine. I'm just going to name all the wounds that I could think of that may be highlighted during this very brief transit. Remember, this is a relatively short transit. Chiron will make one final dip back into Aries in September. You're more likely to see this wound come up next year and move into focus on that wound during the longer transit. Chiron is here to help the collective heal its wounds towards overconsumption, money management, those in power, and our wound with responsibility. You know, some of us never take responsibility and some of us take on too much. Chiron is here to heal the wounds towards work and our government systems. Chiron in Taurus wants to leave this lasting legacy on the earth, but in order to do that, Chiron has to heal these wounds. So over the next few years, more people will wake up and have their dark nights of the soul. And even for those who are awake, we have to authentically love and show up for ourselves exactly how we are. In order to do this, Chiron in Taurus is here to expose those wounds around self-worth. Do you have any negative criticism floating around in your brain where you criticize yourself for doing something instead of just accepting you're human? You have to watch this one, okay? Because some people think that they have great self-worth because they are confident, but really this confidence is a defense mechanism. So the appearance of self-worth is really nothing more than a strategy to appear something you're not, so that you can hide what you are. Thus, you're not allowing yourself to be seen. And Taurus is an earth sign, and earth is a material, energetic realm. Physical things are things you can see. That's why it's important when Chiron visits Mr. Taurus that Chiron is not afraid to be seen even with wounds. Your pain is your story, and your story is your unique piece to the collective quilt. Another wound you could see surfacing in our collective is a wound to speed. When it comes to Earth, everything takes time to grow. And instead of appreciating the journey, we have created artificial ways to speed growth processes up to a point that now those in charge want employees to be like robots. They want humans performing at machine speeds and accuracy. The collective is waking up and realizing that this is not sustainable. Humans are divine creative beings. We are not robots that were meant to do the same task over and over. So when is the stubborn bull going to break and make a change and get humans out of robot consciousness and into creative consciousness? How are we going to restructure the system so that it thrives and grows instead of shrinks and constricts? Our world grew at a rapid pace because it kept speeding things up artificially. Demands increased and effort was needed to expand. So instead of allowing things to expand naturally, just think of a woman who is pregnant. She expands over 9 months to give her skin and body time to adjust. Well, just imagine the earth is a womb for a second, and we artificially spread things up so fast that the natural womb growth couldn't keep up. It's like we as a collective were trying to push the womb or the belly out further and further on our own through our own grit. Like we were just trying to expand by ourselves, just pushing the woman to 9 months pregnant in one day. We created a wound within our womb and were met with a lot of resistance. We got out so big that we reached a tipping point. How far can you push a human until they go back to their sovereignty? People focus on their mental health now. People started putting themselves first instead of their job. And that's just the beginning waves. More people will awaken to this. So systems broke down in this old system. Bodies broke down. Things became wounded. It turns out you can only push things so far. And because it swung to an extreme, wounds were ultimately created during and after this phase. Going to one extreme caused some people to go to the other extreme, where they no longer contributed energy towards wage consciousness. They shifted mindsets that you don't actually have to earn a living. Your divine inheritance is living. Wounds around proving ourselves will heal because of this transit. The trailblazers who stopped giving energy towards that system have initiated a collapse. When you focus inward and make better choices, the collective consciousness raises and changes are made in the outer reality. It requires mind shift changes along with action to create more loving reality within you and outside of you. If there is anything you want to stop doing that you know is not good for you, rephrase it in your mind differently to help you change the habit. It's not this high fructose corn syrup chocolate product tastes so good, I deserve to eat 10 million pounds of it. It's asking yourself, if I love myself, why would I want my body to have all of this toxic food in it? If I value myself, why would I keep taking that substance? Because at the end of the day, it's only hurting your body. With an addiction, it's like you're outside your vehicle beating it up, hitting it with a baseball bat, and then expecting it to drive perfectly to work each day. Your body is your vehicle in this world. It's the only one you get to drive, so take care of it. Many, many different things could come up concerning self-worth. But each time you overcome a self-limiting belief or criticism or doubt, you raise your level of self-worth. And it heals the collective self-worth at the same time. People realized that this system that we are a part of is built on lies. And instead of everything being provided for them, like that Taurus energy, they have realized that things were getting taken away from them. There was a time where no one spoke up about this. It was just tolerated. But the times, they are a-changing. People are realizing that contributing to something based on fake future promises is not a system that is at their best interest at heart. Why are people stepping away from jobs where they are not being treated fairly or heard? That's right. Because parts of their self-worth have healed. So now they can stand up for themselves and doing what is best for them and not the company. I was watching Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, the other day. And in this episode, a doctor comes to town and one of his cowhands had actually been kicked. And instead of treating him and checking on him, the doctor just picked him up and told him he was fine and basically said he was a real cowboy and that he wasn't hurt. He said, "Oh, you're tough. There's nothing wrong with you." Well, the boy ends up dying. I know this is an extreme example, but more souls are getting away from this mentality that we have to sacrifice ourselves. I see more people standing up and saying, "No, I'm not going into work. I'm sick. I need enough time to recuperate too." We as a collective have this wound around speed. We are supposed to get better soon, eat fast food, get our fuel quickly at the quick mart. We live in a go, go, go world. But Taurus is a slow moving bull that just moseys along. It likes to take its time. Taurus loves to attract like a magnet. It's a sign that would rather take time needed to produce quality and not quantity. This will be an amazing time for the collective to heal the quality of the things that we build. Instead of rushing to finish fast or crafting things not meant to last, let's take our time to plan carefully and do it the right way the first time so that what we create endures. I expect to see lessons with our relationship with overconsumption and consumerism. We are learning lessons as a collective on creating a sustainable place to call home. One thing that cannot last is the pace that we are trying to keep up with in this collective. We will be slowing down or feeling an urge to slow down some. Even though the world and technology continue to grow at a rapid pace, slow down and experience life. Slow down and listen to what your body needs. One great byproduct of meditation trending is the collective consciousness has slowed down from all of the artificial speeding up. When a group of people meditate each day and hold space and silence, it helps slow everything down. Each little part helps. You get enough people doing it, and we slowly are slowing down consciousness and the world when we focus on this stillness. So in a sense, we are slowing down the collective in order to heal our wound around speed and getting these instant results and getting instant gratification from things. There's a collective wound around never resting as well, because there are so many things to do in only a short amount of time to get them done. For some, there will be lessons regarding actually relaxing your nervous system when you do rejuvenate yourself. In a material Taurus world, worry can come into focus. Worry that, this needs to be done or that needs to be completed. Worried about finances and how you're going to make it. Worried about relationships and how you're going to fix them and how they're ever going to work. This could look like going to get a mani and pedi, and the whole time you were thinking about all of these things your partner has said and done that seems narcissistic. So because you're ruminating on these thoughts, your body is tense the whole time. So you don't actually get to enjoy your mani-pedi. Or when you go to sleep, instead of focusing on the rejuvenation you're about to experience, you stay up worried over finances, and it trickles into your sleep where you toss and turn all night long. With this Taurus energy, it can be where you are the provider in some way. You do stuff for others, so you can't fully relax when you're away because they may need you. We have to heal this wound of our nervous systems always being on alert. Now, a healed Taurus can lock in when it wants to. That's something that we have got going for us when this sign is in Taurus. It can be stubborn and dig its heels in to do what it needs to do. Over time, we should heal our wounds with worry, especially over material things. We as a collective need to find a more sustainable way to live in harmony. Harmony is a huge thing we will be healing during this transit. How do we balance and compromise our relationships? How do we handle our own inner conflicts? We all have active and receptive energies within us. What happens when the active energy wants to initiate something, but our more receptive energy just isn't too sure? How do we resolve that inner conflict within ourselves? Who dominates, the active or the receptive energy? Is there a compromise amongst these two energies, or does one energy consistently lead? Is the energy that isn't leading okay with the other person making the choice? It will be important to check in with our own active and our own receptive energies, as well as our bodies during this transit. Before bed every night, I actually have a conversation with my active and receptive energies. What was my receptive energy afraid to do today? Did my active energy help my receptive energy initiate something so that it got done? I remember long ago, my receptive energy didn't want to fill out this packet of paperwork that I needed to fill out. It was thick, and I had to get paperwork and documents and yada, yada, yada. It was going to take a couple of hours to do. So my receptive energy kept putting it off, and I had a deadline. So I couldn't just keep putting it off. Well, my active energy initiated a conversation and talked to my receptive energy about why it didn't want to do this packet. Things came up about how overwhelming it was going to be, and et cetera, et cetera. But my active energy just said, I get it. But every long journey starts with a single step, and you are more than capable of filling this out. This is simple. And you get to do it in the comfort of your own home. And once it's over, you'll be able to relax. So my active energy dismantled my receptive energy's apprehensiveness, which helped me accomplish what I needed to get done. I've also had moments where my receptive energy had to step into a situation. My active energy, she just gets all excited and she wants to go, go, go and do, and she wants to see everything in this world. I have big dreams, big visions, and there are times where I forget that I need to rest and relax. A couple years ago, I didn't know anything about sitting still and relaxing. I was always doing something, and I worked in a restaurant. So, anybody that's worked in a restaurant, you're always multitasking. Even if I sit down to spend time with someone, I was usually doing something else. I remember I was trying to watch a movie one time, and I watched it for a moment, but then I got up and I brought some finished laundry to fold, and then there was a collage that I needed to do. So I grabbed some magazines and I started cutting out the pictures that I needed. Then I would go and paint my nails or something. I mean, I could not just sit down and fully focus on one thing. I just always had to be doing something and doing a lot. So my little receptive energy would call a timeout and would say, for me, the most important thing on this earth is the relationships that you build with others. So I want to be fully present in whatever I do and not be distracted. What kind of memory would my children have if I couldn't even sit down to watch a movie and be fully present with them? What would they say? Mom was distracted. She was doing something on her phone or folding laundry, and she was mentally away from where we were, even though she was physically there. I hated that. So my receptive energy would call that time out and would talk to my active energy and say, I know that you get a lot of things accomplished and it makes you feel very fulfilled at the end of the day. And I really, really appreciate that you get all of those things done for us. But for every moment where you need that active energy, there is a moment where you need that receptive, relaxed energy. And this is one of those moments. So my active energy just needed that time out so I could listen. My active and my receptive energy both lead. And I can tell when I get one of them out of balance. And you will be able to, if you haven't healed this part, you will be able to do this after this transit. We have a left and a right side of the brain. We have a logical reasoning self, and we have a creative flow self. We have an emotional self and a practical self. How can we bring both of these energies into harmony? I'll give you a hint. The first key is to acknowledge that you have two different ideas within you that create a conflict. There will be a healing towards the wound of compromising as well. Chiron has previously been in Aries, and Aries aren't exactly, the top 3 signs that compromise well. Aries is about the head, and when I think of Taurus, it's ruled by Venus. I think of our heart. We are being pulled to having more open heart chakras, but we are still wounded as a collective. It's so easy for hurt people to hurt people. It's so hard to get into that habit of being the bigger person no matter what or how bad it hurts. But Chiron is going to be healing our relationship to love and beauty and connection. Over time, we can cleanse our heart space. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time, we are met with enough triggers that it gets old being hurt. So we transform the pain. Chiron is going to expose us to some tender wounds in our heart space. A good practice is to actually think that you're in a video game and you get missions or levels where something comes to you and triggers you. And in that moment, if you choose to face the pain and dissipate it in your energy field, you just build this momentum and gain strength so you can level up. You can't suppress or run away from your wound. The key is to face the wound. And if you need to acknowledge it in whatever way you need to do it. But in the moment, you need to do what is opposite of what you're feeling in the present moment that you need to do so that you can alchemize it. Whenever I get hurt, I just take a moment to talk to my heart. I'll say, heart, I can feel that you're hurt right now. Is there anything you would like to say? And then I just pause and I just am in silence and see what comes up. And I always have something come up. Usually it feels neglected because I've run away from that feeling in the past or I'm not listening to it. But now my heart talks. And honestly, it feels a lot better just after she vents. Now, there are tougher times where she has to be witnessed and it's not just a venting session. A change has to actually be made because it's a loop that I'm in that I just cannot get out of. So when this happens, I always reflect on the situation that's happened and reframe the story on how I want it to play out. And by doing this, I can get my active energy on board, and then I can get my active and receptive energy flowing in the same direction. So receptive speaks about what happens, and then active decides whether it's a venting session or if there is a change that needs to be made. If something does need to change, active goes forth and changes it. Active and receptive energies are united and agree on this. And when they join forces, your body and mind can complete the action to alchemize it into form. And I know it's easier to look at things outside of ourselves and blame others on why we're not safe or comfortable or happy. This is because we are split. Part of us wants to change. Part of us wants to stay with the familiar. And I'm not just talking about being safe emotionally either. The wound to material things and comfort will definitely be in focus for some. There is a collective that is looking outside of themselves for something that they 100% could handle on their own. My friend was in a toxic relationship for years and years, but was too afraid to leave because she didn't think she could get a job on her own or her own home. So she endured. But guess what? In the end, she left and ended up with a job and a house on her own. It took her 8 years to trust her own self. You don't have to sacrifice parts of yourself just for survival. You are stronger than you realize. People cling to things and often think that they cannot live without certain things. This transit is going to be particularly hard for those who have a hard time letting go of things. Our relationship with surrender will be healed. You cannot control everything, no matter how hard you try. We are in the middle of tearing down old structures and implementing new ones. So this transit brings us tower moments in the financial world, the physical world, and the emotional world. The way things are structured is changing, period. Our fear of losing our material security would be something that you see come up during this transit. And the healing of our wound regarding scarcity. Chiron in Taurus is going to have some of y'all actually realizing you're not broke just because you're broke. You're still a divine creative being that has a lot of value for this world. Now, I'm not talking about monetarily. Also, Taurus is ruled by Venus, so there could be a wound with our loved one leaving as well, and how different the physical world is without them. We cannot cling to past structures or past identities. Not one of us are going to make it out of this world alive in this body. We don't take anything with us when we leave. It all stays. It kind of reminds me of the sand on the beaches. Each day, people come and mold it into whatever they need or whatever they want to create. Maybe a hole, maybe a sandcastle, maybe they draw in it. And then the next day, people come and change the landscape. Some things survive and some things are washed away. Some things are changed by humans. That's what this earth is like. Your stuff here on earth stays, but for just a minute, and then it's restructured. Having a material item, it does bring comfort and convenience into our life when we're alive. But with the impermanence of everything, we cannot hold on to these things even while we're here. All things change. The wounds surrounding our dependency on these things and what we are willing to sacrifice of ourselves to continue the comfort and conveniences in the present will rise. For example, Sarah is an accountant and she hates the company that she works for. Absolutely hates it. But she loves the money. She is able to afford very nice things, vacations, a reliable car, a home that she just absolutely adores. But she finds her job unfulfilling. But hey, it affords her this lifestyle, and she feels that she couldn't have this lifestyle without that particular job. Well, during this Chiron and Taurus transit, Sarah's bosses wanted her to fudge some numbers because they didn't want to appear to the shareholders as though they are actually losing money. She has been receiving some actual nice bonus checks because she's been doing this, but it keeps her up at night. She's also been required to stay later when the company needs her, and it's reflecting her relationships at home. If she isn't able to replace the income she's receiving with a different job, she may lose her job and all her comfortable things and her nice home and car and all of that. Each person's capacity is different. But what this transit will bring up is what we are sacrificing in order to keep these material items. We leave this earth with our soul. So are we sacrificing our soul for a material object that gets left behind? Make it make sense. That's what this transit will do. Now, I actually want to go back to something that I said earlier and give it a little bit more attention. I was talking about how our relationship with material things and consumerism will surface. The shadow side of Taurus is this hungry bull that looks outside of himself to fill himself up and to make himself feel satisfied. Tauruses sometimes have this insatiable craving for pleasure and comfort. It's an energy that may use material things to help mask emotional wounds. And this manifests as overconsumption, hoarding, having a scarcity mindset, or unhealthy attachments to possessions. It can also create imbalances around food, sex, or money where you either overindulge or push it away. So watch out for the shadow side. This transit is here to teach us responsible, healthy care of our resources, energy, time, bodies, and our earth. Taurus knows how to cultivate. It's really, really, really good at it. At its healthiest form, Taurus can show patience, consistency, devotion, care, and how true abundance is grown over time. The medicine given now heals deep, but it demands honesty with yourself. You cannot heal scarcity while repeatedly abandoning your own needs, nor build lasting abundance while disconnected from your body, values, or nature. Chiron in Taurus asks you to slow down and to listen to what your relationship to comfort, survival, pleasure, money, and self-worth is teaching you. Most importantly, self-worth isn't handed to you by the world. It's grown from within through a conscious and caring relationship with yourself. Mwah.